Hey. Welcome to episode 209 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. This episode is entitled Teeth and Transformation. And I'm having my guest on today, who's a return guest on, because not only is she talking about a health issue that she's navigating so powerfully, because she's a pro at helping me and helping so many people synthesize the vast amounts of information in the world and create new things and pathways forward where we might only see obstacles and heartache. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest, but first this.
Today's guest, Harmony Sedona.
Welcome back to Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. I have a question for you. Do you like getting dental work done? That's one to ponder, isn't it? I'm going to say I don't either. Yeah, really, I don't at all. It's costly and it's no fun. I reflect on this question as I think about Harmony Sedona in our conversation in a minute. Harmony, let me tell you about Harmony. Harmony has used a connection with spirit along with every self-help technique in the book to repeatedly transform her life. As founder and principal practitioner at Alchemy Bloom, Harmony is deeply committed to the power of transformation for herself and others. She guides clients through the gestation periods into blooming successes, joy, and service to humanity. But she had quite the Achilles heel, in her case, her teeth. Yeah, she's known for several years that she's needed to get major dental work done, but for reasons most of us can well understand, she just kept putting it off. I want to bring Harmony on before I spoil any more of the story. So please welcome to Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. We turn and much appreciated guest Harmony Sedona.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jason. Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you. It just feels like home. Hello there. We've been through a lot together and continue to live this wonderful, wonderful life. And we might be joined by Ellie Kitty. We never know if he gets excited and comes on board. It would be really rare to see Cappy, but hey, we'll see what the afternoon gives us.
One thing to know about Harmony is she is a lover and a guide and a parent to her cats and we return are deeply appreciative of her and just amazing animals and amazing beings. And for any of you listening who have dogs or cats that you are really close to, you probably can definitely relate. And then for the rest of you, maybe you are like me, like you like animals and being around dogs and cats. and then you like being able to go home and leave them with their parents.
Like grandparents,
Yeah, yeah, like grandparents or
like
aunts and
grandparents.
uncles.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I hadn't thought to start here, but how did you start? How did you connect with having cats in your life?
Oh, good Lord, what a great question. My mom loved cats, and before I was born, she and my dad got this feral cat, Tootie, and they took
Tootie,
Tootie and Tootie Kitty, I know, and Tootie
Tootie
ended up being a
kitty.
pregnant kitty, and Tootie had babies, and my mom just loved kitties, and so somehow the others got rehomed, and we ended up with Puff, and Puff had his own ideas about life and he became a farm kitty and he said adios. But what's really great is that she decided she wanted a kitten when I was at 10 years old. And so she got this really beautiful little Siamese kitten. Oh my God, he was like, edible
Hmm.
kitty. And my mom was like unconventional, completely unconventional. And so she has this young kitten and we want to go to the movies. And so my mom has this like purse that looked more like a fishing basket. So what she did is she took the kitty, put the kitty in the basket, and we went to the movies. This is the beauty and the mystical and the magic of living at home. So it's just it was passed on a love of kitties in our home. There were always kitty stories and kitty quality of life, and just the kitties were a part of the family. They had a vote, so it just came with me, and I've been lucky to have the most extraordinary, conscious, amazing kitties. I mean, I'm so blessed. These guys are so gracious.
So how many? We've been talking almost every week for years, and it's amazing. I've never asked you the exact
I
that
know.
question. I don't think.
No, I mean, you just kind of took it as that's what I am. I haven't thought about that though in a long time. That's a beautiful, beautiful, warm memory. She was, she was unconventional, really pretty amazing.
It, it's amazing with the people around us who we know the best. It's easy to assume things and instead of asking questions
I
and
know.
finding out new things.
I
Be,
know.
being curious even about our friends and family is such a neat thing.
Oh, it's totally neat. It gives you the full spectrum of stories too. And the person can tell the full spectrum of stories, which makes it so really cool. I just learned something about a friend today that I had no idea. I was like, it's one of those if you could see through the phone, you'd go, "What? Really? Seriously?" Yeah,
It's so exciting.
I agree. I agree.
Speaking of things we often take for granted until they start talking to us. What was your experience with your teeth like when you were a kid or when you were in college or whatever?
It's pretty funny. A lot of things with me, there's a dichotomy to it. So here I am, I'm a baby boomer. Drinking milk at that time was the thing that we did. And I had incredible teeth. I mean, my teeth were just like really absolutely incredible. I had healthy teeth until like I was 35 or something, not even a cavity.
Not even a
Not even a
cavity?
cavity. I know that's what
Holy
makes this whole thing
cow!
so insane. And when you go to the dentist, there's this question, and they say, "So, what was your first traumatic experience with the dentist?" Because I guess everybody has one, it seems, from when they were young that sets the stage of how they even can begin to feel about a dentist. And mine happened at 13 when they were doing prep work of pulling a couple of teeth for the braces. No, it was not a pleasant experience. We don't even need to go in it. Just fill in, talk amongst yourself. We'll figure it out, whatever works for you. But yeah, so you carry this energetically, you carry this in your psychology, you carry these things that are inhibitors to being able to be more healthy at times or do what you need to do, whether it's health or any other part of living. So, yeah.
So sometimes it occurs to me those things, those traumatic experiences. We don't always step back and and think about them like oh, that was just one experience with one dentist. But those experiences can come for us to be just the way it is, like that one dentist, whatever happened, that it can turn into I'm afraid of dentists. I
Yeah.
don't like dentists. Dentists are miserable.
And it's interesting because I think in some ways well, in many ways, it leads into, what I believe see your platform is doing one's imperfect best. In that moment in time, he made a slight error. I didn't have a voice. I didn't say anything. He didn't know it was just one of those perfect storms. He could have been a perfectly amazing dentist, but in that moment, we had an intersection which impacted me for the rest of my life, and it's still in my cells, and it makes cleaning interesting. And you know, I guess if I'd given it more precedence, maybe I would have gone to a hypnotist or done energy work around it or tried to dissolve that pattern. But somehow, because, I didn't think of dentists very much, it wasn't on my top of my hit parade to try and heal until all of this started to happen. And then it was like, the barn door's closed and the horse is gone, and you're like, wow, okay, this is really interesting and compounded. So yeah.
It, it it's so it's such an honor, I would think, to be a doctor or dentist, to have that and
Yeah.
that role in people's lives of helping them heal in a very specific way. But at the same time, there's so much responsibility. Like maybe the experience you had 13, maybe your dentist, like maybe he didn't sleep well the night before. Maybe like one of a million things was happening at home, and that that doesn't take away at all from
No.
you having a traumatic experience.
No, it doesn't. And I think, again, one of the things that's been incredibly helpful in my life, and I don't say this just because we're public, I say this to you a lot, but your perspective, your point of view on imperfect best, on kindness, on somebody in a moment doing their their imperfect best is such a beautiful concept because it really, we all work on doing, many of us, we work on doing our work. And one of the things we work on is how to forgive, how to let go, how to dissolve what has happened, how to be more comfortable with it or change or grow or transform. And to be able to have that kind of point of view as part of our toolkit, I think I know I'm always trying to be with, not always successfully, but I'm always trying to go, well, what is their perspective? What happened here? Like I said, I'm not
Mm.
always good at it. And you have, through the talks that we've had over the years, you gently point me into a place of a different perspective, mine to choose to do or not to do. But there's a truth to it. I mean, you know, it doesn't, it, there's a lot of complexity around it, but it's like an entry point. Let's just start with that. It's an entry point as to how we can feel about somebody in our heart, how we can think about an experience, how we can heal it, how we can move forward, how, in this case, I could have even been more inclined to be at the dentist sooner. But yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
when you were talking about that experience when you were 13, one of the things you mentioned is you felt like you didn't have a voice.
I think
can
so.
you say more about in general about the feeling of not having a voice? Because I think I felt at times like I don't have a voice, and I think this is a common and extremely painful experience for a
Oh, I
lot of
love the
people.
question. I love the question. And it comes in so many forms. And, one of the things is we can start speaking up in one way, but then we'll find it's really hard in other ways. It's one of
Mm,
those things that is needing to be practiced almost across the board. And frequently, when we're in that place of the transformation or the shift or the change, we'll do it. We'll show up in one way, but then there's another place where after the fact we're like, I could have spoken up. I wonder what would have happened if I had spoken up. Maybe next time I'll speak up. We're more aware. I think 13 is not an easy age for anybody.
no.
And, I'm not exactly sure what was going on, but, if we speculate, dentist is considered an authority, somebody who knows what they're doing. And I think that there was pain involved. I think it's kind of hard to talk about without getting like, because you don't want to offend people with tennis stories, but I think the easiest way to say it is they just simply didn't give enough Novocaine, and they didn't
Oh,
realize it.
oh.
And
Yeah,
when they did,
you
they
said a
were,
lot in those few words. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
okay.
sorry, but it's it was remedied. And so I wasn't in a place to be able to kind of really speak up because I was kind of shocked, and whatever you want to put to it, pain shocked, you know, mom's there, you don't question authority, you think you're being taken care of. I mean, that's just one subset of where we don't use our voice, and we can probably wrap that theme in more as we're talking. But it kind of hits you unexpectedly. Like that's one of the subsets of not having a voice. You're in a position, a place, a situation where it hits you unexpectedly, and you kind of feel doe-eyed, and you don't know what to say, and you haven't practiced. You don't even know that you can sometimes, and so. Again, that can be just the thing that's applied across the board. Anytime somebody doesn't use their voices to, they're in pain, they're having a memory, they're having a something they've been told they shouldn't, and it's ancestral. It's ancestral.
I can think of in my life I having so many ideas that I thought were good in the past, and but them being shy to share those good ideas,
Mhm.
so just stuffing them back down.
The stuffing should be reserved for Thanksgiving and other holidays where stuffing is important to have. Other than that, stuffing, or you're stuffing a stocking, but other than that, I think stuffing is way overdone, and we do it because that's how we cope.
Good job tying that image in with it's November right now and we're recording and there's some birds coming up, so
So,
very timely.
I think so. Hey, what can I say? But yeah, that's
So,
it's compounded. It just moves forward with you in your life.
so can you say more about how this, more about the feel, feeling, or say something more about the stuffing getting compounded?
Compounded stuffing. My, if we were in momentum realm, we would really go off on a tangent about stuffing and what you put in it. But it feels like it comes back to some basics of growth, of psychology, of transformation. Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I enough? Am I lovable? What happens if I speak up? Will I lose my positioning? Will I be yelled at? Will I be considered crazy? Will I be made fun of? Will I be bullied? Will I be harmed? Will I be gaslighted? Will I be Will I make somebody even more infuriated? Will that lead to even more abuse? Will that put somebody across from me in a position to do something unconscionable? Will it give them fodder to make fun of me? Any one of those, all of those at any given time. Those are some of the reasons why we stuff. And maybe there's part of it with the Marianne Williamson quote, if we just paraphrase one line, who am I to be so I don't even remember what the thing is, wonderful or great, or who am I to be so fill in the blank? Who am I to be one who expresses? Who am I to have fresh ideas or inspiration? Who am I to have anything to contribute to the world? These again are across the entire scope of being alive and living, and they come to us in all kinds of different forms and all kinds of different ways. And it's a real challenge to learn that you can speak up, learn how to speak up, learn, I would say, where the middle path is between being in a place where you just become a motor mouth and say things that are inappropriate or harmful or unkind. It's a two-way street. It's the listener and the person who's speaking, but generally having the courage to speak, and then to speak in a way that can be heard, that can be received, where you're still expressing yourself, to allow for really dynamic conversation and relating. I actually like that when we can go into a circle or a workshop and they're teaching how to do authentic relating through communication, through stems, through prompts, how you learn to speak. It's something that's not taught nearly enough.
When there's so much, you listed lot of reasons that we humans are afraid of speaking up. So with so many reasons to hold it and to stuff our thoughts and wishes and needs down. Why speak up? Why speak up? What's the benefit of speaking up?
Great question. I'm sure there's a lot of answers, and if we were to redo this in a day, I'd have even more. But just why speak up? Because I believe, I feel that there's much that needs to be said, that needs to be expressed, that needs to be heard. There's new ways of seeing the world, there's new perspectives, there's new ideas, there's new choices. I like to call them entry points, the things where when you haven't heard them before and you hear the words, the language in a different way, in a different sequence, in a different rhythm, it hits something in you. Or maybe it's like marketing, it's the 20th time and it finally, oh, I'm awake on that, wow, and I want to run with it. It's it's people are wired to talk to each other, to express, to build relationships, to have
Mm,
communication,
mm,
to be able to say something's working, something's not working, to build more respectful relationships and
mm,
communication. I think that's why, whether it's to bring your platform into the world, or to tell your husband or your significant other or your child, to build intimacy through
mm,
languaging and communication. And the inability to communicate, to speak up, is so base across it all. I mean, it hits almost every aspect of human life, business life, spiritual life, any life that you want to put into it.
And from past experience, I know it can be at least it was a very lonely path for me, feeling like I couldn't speak up. So let's bring this the title of the this episode is Teeth and Transformation. Before we get into that, would you please read your
Yeah,
poem?
yeah. I have a very dear friend who has helped me substantially with this whole teeth transformation, healing, or Achilles heel thing. And it's interesting, you and I've talked about this. We note that a lot of my parts are about transformation, are about healing, are about the spiritual reasons why we do what we do. And for me, it was not just the health that was at stake here or important. It was also exactly what you're saying. There was a spiritual component of releasing, freeing the energies that had been in the mouth and the bones. There's more that we can talk about. So this came across my feed just as you were asking me for the bio and everything. And I loved your phrase when I sent it to you. It said, "This reminds me of how you always talk about, meaning me, puzzling with a Rubik's Cube, because I'll frequently go like this in kind of
Yeah.
etheric space, trying to put the pieces together. And then something like this comes in, and to me, it gives a perspective where I can go. And again, I think this comes back to the question of why do we need to express? Why did this person need to express? Well, the fact that this person did express, he wrote,
Mm.
gave me an entry into healing that I didn't expect. That was really profound. So
In
this
the,
is,
in
go
the
ahead.
name of the poet of this poem is going to show up below magically.
Magically. Thank you, Jason. Oh, beautiful. I respect this person, and I would not even want to pronounce this name, although I could have probably practiced imperfect best. Just no, sir, lady, person. It's my imperfect best. So, what was written is, when life breaks you, it is because you are ready to be put back together differently. Every piece of you that feels shattered is a piece that will find a new place, a new purpose, a new meaning, a new beginning. Trust that the cracks are where the light gets in. And sometimes in our brokenness, we find our greatest wholeness. We find the courage to rebuild, reimagine, to redefine what it means to be strong. You are not broken. You are breaking through.
Thank, thank you. The poem starts when life breaks you. It occurs to me as humans. I know and I think a lot of other humans are. Uh, our visceral reaction is we're so afraid of being broken. But then the poem is about kind of about the transformation that can come from that brokenness. Can you talk any more about how that happens?
Well, I think what I'm feeling getting is a nuanced difference between broken and breaking. Broken to me feels more like the entire scope of uh, of maybe of a despair or a fill in the blank. But when the phrase, when life breaks you, it feels like it's one of those in the moment challenges that can happen in life. It can be, it's frequently dramatic or traumatic, but sometimes it can be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's that piece where you just feel like, for me, I shouldn't put it into global, for
Mm.
me, compounded. It's when life has felt particularly challenging. And I teasingly say the greatest hits, they just keep coming. And I feel like I just keep blinking. And when I was younger, and hadn't done as much work or transformation. It was, I would go into my rabbit hole. I like the phrase, I put up drapes. It was beautifully decorated, had Wi-Fi, had snacks, great food. And I just would be like, I can't cope with the world. As I've gotten better at navigating through the world and I've done a lot of growth and worked on myself, the the pieces that come in don't break me like they used to, but boy, they can feel compounded. And for me, it's still a choice of, am I going to go with my plushie into the rabbit hole? Or am I going to just try and be with the languaging and the message that this is an opportunity, which if you know me, platitudes make me absolutely crazy because sometimes they're so unhealing and they're not the right statement until somebody is at a place where they can hear the wisdom behind the platitude. But boy, it can really make you crazy. So it's frequently said, there's a piece that breaks you. But because I love language, because I love things being said differently, what I loved about this is that you may feel shattered, a piece of you might feel shattered, but that piece is going to find a new place, a new way of coming together. And so
The
it's,
piece is going to find a new place. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Oh.
And then it's something that at least you can start to breathe through. And as you're in it and I start to be with myself or my guides or whatever I call spirit, and I start to go to a higher perspective with this, to be with it in a fuller way. I can see, like with the teeth, I can see where it's a place where with the peace comes in, then I'm different. I have a different perspective. I can breathe. I can go, oh, that's why that happened. And then from that, I love his words. It gives you the courage to rebuild, reimagine, and redefine. And that's to me what I feel is the essence of transformation, that ability to look at it, be with it from a different perspective, which goes back to why even bother expressing. Because in this case, somebody doesn't write the poem, you don't have the entrepreneur to get the answers to help you cope, to help you move forward, to
Hmm.
help you transform.
Hmm. Yeah, if the poem hadn't been written, you wouldn't be reading the poem. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, so something happened when you were 13 at the dental office, and now you're somewhat older than 13. Um, would you kind of walk us through briefly how this thing that happened, just kind of your feelings towards the multiply and then eventually made yourself more known like a year or two ago.
Well, I think if I can do this in short form, no cavities till I was 35. So going to a dentist was not part of the paradigm. That's not what we did. We didn't go to doctors. We didn't go to dentists. We weren't particular religion or theory. We just didn't. It just wasn't part of the patterns. So I'm an adult and going to the dentist is just not part, you go if there's something wrong. It was never felt like anything was wrong. And yeah, I got older and I don't know, somewhere along the line I got that I needed to go to a dentist. And in retrospect, not the best idea, didn't, they mean well, but dentists are people, they're business people. They're there with a perspective of how they run their practice. And I ran into a aggressive dentist who decided he needed to work on some teeth that in retrospect didn't need to be worked on.
Hmm.
So interesting. And it's, how do I want to say this? Well, as I got, into like let's say 2010-ish, 11, somewhere in that ballpark, I was at a job that gave us dental and I could go to a dentist. So I'm like, well, let's get my teeth checked. People were talking about it. Let's do that. And I found an absolutely amazing dentist. He was wonderful. He was sensitive. And over a couple of years, we worked with the dental insurance and we got a couple of crowns in. And he took care of everything and made it nice again. I had a healthy mouth. One of the things that tends I've gotten to disrupt a mouth, to create havoc, to create chaos, is stress. And the more stress one has, the more one can be inclined, if they're prone to it, that their dental becomes their Achilles heel. And also, I have dry mouth, which never got resolved. So you add stress and dry mouth, and now you've got a hostile environment in the mouth that likes to produce lots of cavities. And so I'm in Arizona. I'm seeing a dentist, another one of those. I don't know how I attracted them. I've been very healthy. I've been so blessed and so grateful that the other parts of my body are like really strong. I mean, I'm blessed. Just the teeth have been, like you said, my Achilles heel. So we have the dentist who did 3 teeth, and it was like, oh my God, if I could report you to the Better Business Bureau. Wow, hello. And then I found a holistic dentist in Scottsdale and did a lot of crowns. She was beautiful. She was great. The office was great. The experience was great. I was really fortunate. And then, I have more life and more stress and more compounded. And I've left Arizona and I'm now living in San Diego, and funds are really tight. And so I go to the first dentist that was recommended by the holistic dentist, and he had a whole plan to do cavitations. And I ran away from him as fast as I could because that wasn't my gig. And I went to a second dentist, and she had the same price point that she was going to charge me for different work. And then, during COVID, I found a holistic dentist local that would be able to see me. I'm sorry, he was even worse than the others. And I almost reported him to the dental people of how he was just having a mean day. I mean, seriously. And then I went to 2 other dentists, and they were kind of like blowing me off. And I don't know what is projection on this and what is real, but I knew by that point I was like trying and it just wasn't working. So what happens when you're in a place where you can't trust the dentist that you're going to, and you've already got trauma? What do? If you're me, you just kind of go, well, I don't know what to do about this. Then I found a wonderful dentist. I'm so sorry. And he died. He died. This wonderful man died. So now I'm without a dentist again. So now, there's another dentist. I mean, part of this is mine. I don't want to feel like a victim here, but you're asking for the story. And the perspective of the story is that, in my viewpoint, there was a lot of trauma to this. And I'm not inclined to want to go to the dentist to begin with. So there's another dentist until finally it's like, this needs to be handled. And I want to tell this story because it shows how spirit can just have such a wonderful divine timing. So I took my kitty in for um, a post appointment to some a surgery that had been done. And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and he speaks to a dog owner, and he goes, okay, so we did the laser and we did the ozone, and my eyes kind of like go like this because trying to find dentists anymore who do ozone is really a big deal. And I said, so what's the difference between laser and ozone? And he's like, well, laser is for pain and ozone is for bacteria. And so all of a sudden I'm back on Google. Long story short, I find a dentist in Solana Beach who can use ozone, and I think I'm going in there for some cavities, and we'll go from there. Part one. Do you want me to continue, or do you want to ask a question?
Oh, please continue.
So I meet this really amazing dentist, and she looks at me, and she sits me down, and there's just a trust with her. There's just something about her that just felt right for every way. And she looks at me and she goes, "How long ago did you have your crowns done?" 2018. 5, 6 years later, and they're already breaking through in your mouth? Not a good idea. She says, we could replace the crowns, but chances are you've got a hostile environment of whatever's going on in your mouth. And we could just keep doing this process, or we could do it once and do it right and be done with it. And I had been coached that this round needed to do it once, do it right. It's interesting because energetically it goes toward not settling with just a byproduct of how can I make this work now. And I by no means am I saying that my choice is anybody else's choice, that you should get this instead of crowns, because this is such a personal decision as your health, your dental environment, your dentist, your practitioners, what you need. It's so individualized. But for me, who I am, the choice that was presented was, okay, let's take out all your teeth and we'll do implants. Like short circuit. Like the one who was so afraid of getting a tooth extracted is now going to be losing all her teeth, like, because it's the best way to go for my health. I will stop if you want to ask questions.
So we have this choice a lot in life. Like, do I settle and keep patching something up, or, or do I really do the job that's suggested and move to a different level in my experience of whatever I'm dealing with? And you were faced with a choice.
It's definitely a choice, but I think that, I mean, not everybody needs to go that extreme, but I attach in here the context of we do settle. You know, it can be an energetic pattern, it can be a reality. We do settle. We do tend to settle. It goes back to I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I settle. I don't speak up. I settle. I settle. I'll settle here and I'll settle there. Don't need to have communication. Don't need to have intimacy. Don't need to have it the way I'm looking for it. Don't need to have that dream. I settle. So I don't, I don't even know that I can have good health. I don't know if I can be healthy. And I'm by no means stating that these are the only pieces. These are just a few that are coming to me in this moment.
So, what was it like for you to choose not to settle in terms of your teeth? What was that process like spiritually?
It was actually quite profound. I came out of the dentist's office with my proposals and pricing and the whole piece, and I called my very dear friend. I was sitting in my car in Sedona Beach. I could see the ocean.
Mm.
There was a hummingbird that stayed for the entire conversation with my friend. Hummingbirds to me are the ones that always come in and go, "You've got this. It's all. It's all. It's you're on target, you're on path. I'm here for you. You'll be supported. You've got what you need. And it was really funny too, because I was speaking to my friend about this for maybe 20, 30 minutes. And she's a really blessed person because she could really help me tap into the spiritual component of what it meant and how I would be healthy and how my whole life could change and how I would be open to speak more. And we didn't talk about heart. We didn't talk about the impact that getting my teeth, how it would have on my organs and what being rid of the bacteria would actually mean. That was kind of like a subset. And it gave me such a strength of purpose, a willingness to not turn back, to stay with something that could have felt so completely arduous, but just felt like it was perfect timing to do it with the right people in the right place at the right timing.
A phrase I don't always hear in terms of healthcare decisions is strength of purpose. You really found purpose.
I found purpose. I found purpose that resonated with me, if you want to get woo at a soul level. And not everybody's wired that way. And a lot of people are really good at hearing the information as to how it will impact them physically. And that's enough to get them to make shifts in their behavior, their diet, to get an operation, to have something handled in a health wise. You're not even going into other aspects, but for me, I needed more because I'm not wired to be making decisions of how healthy I can be.
So what was the more? What did you discover as the purpose of why you wanted to go forward?
Again, I went to the metaphysical. It seems to be my go-to. It's where I'm the most comfortable in my life and in my body and in my world. And I just really got, when you get something and you just can feel it in your bones, no pun intended. But I could just feel the rightness of this, that there was that through the extraction process. I mean, if we're really woo, through the extraction process of bone, of teeth, of very solid material that is holding certain energetic patterns and certain ways of being. It was holding all the times that I didn't speak up and felt afraid. It was
Mm.
holding the times where there was abuse that threatened me to not speak. There were even ancestral patterns that gently emerged as to when my ancestors were like held, abused, whatever the word is, extreme circumstances of people in an ancestral life where as a race or as a whatever, they were unable to speak. They couldn't speak up. So there was a dissolving of the ancestral patterns in addition to my own. And it felt very real and very profound. It was like, what is it that they say? I am the change that those have been waiting for, and how it adds into creating a better world. Yeah, I know that sounds really woo, but it's what floats my boat. Part of it, not the whole thing, but part of it.
So then you had the first surgery in July, right?
Yeah.
What has the experience of recovery been like? Was it like in 24 hours after the surgery you felt as good as new?
Not at all. I mean, I've talked to a friend who's had this also done, and she goes, everybody experiences it different. Everybody is different in how quickly they bounce back, how what their dentist does, what their mouth is. It just, for me, it was again the dichotomy experience. It was being very well prepared, having asked all the questions I needed to ask about hygiene and meals and form and what I could and couldn't do and what to expect and all of that. I was really good at paying attention. And before I had gotten the surgery, I worked with a incredibly talented hypnotist, and she also works with quantum journeys. So we cleared the path to be able to be with the surgery and have incredible healing. I also worked with a sound healer to set a framework for quick healing and ease with surgery, because with any surgery, there's a multitude of things on the sheet that they give you that can happen. I didn't believe that any of them would, but still, they're because you just don't know. So there was an incredible amount of gratitude that it was the operation went pretty well. It was successful. So there was the watching the swelling and the ice packs and all of that. So that was one part of it. When they got to be putting in the implants, they realized that the bone was softer than they anticipated. So it was kind of like they had to pivot. And what they were going to do, they were going to put the implants in within 4 days. And they were like, the appliance. So they were like, well, they put in 3. We're going to do a bone graft. We're going to let that heal. And, just everybody calm down and we'll just stop. And so what they did is they printed the denture right on the spot. And actually, I'm so grateful for the denture, because the denture became the Band-Aid. It became the thing that held the mouth healing. It allowed more space. And I'm really glad I had it. And then again, I'm really because when you go through this kind of surgery, as with any surgery, it's moment by moment where the swelling is. Dentures are made to fit into the mouth and stay there. And so when the mouth changes, the denture changes. Yeah, I'm in this place where like I felt like I was in a straitjacket, like kind of like you gotta eat soft food, but we didn't have a clear definition of soft food, and some of the food wasn't working, and it was like I was really hungry, and nobody asked me going into this, did I like juice? Did I like smoothies? No, and I tried to pre-do it, and it was just like a whole comedy of errors that was needing to be worked through over several weeks with the dentures. And okay, I need to talk about this because I find this one of those like humorous going, I just can't believe it. So in my world, we do organic and we try to have a very, have congruent products in the body. But when you're wearing dentures, the main adhesive well, there's 2 major adhesives that are well known, and they both, first of all, the chemicals in them are not even to be believed, and they're made from petroleum jelly, which is not good to be putting in your body on a regular basis. So there was like this, I need a better adhesive. I need to work this out. And so it wasn't smooth, but it was definitely a process in courage and trusting and trial and error and just
Courage
knowing
and trusting and trial and error.
trial and error and gratitude when I could do something. Extreme gratitude that the list of things that could have happened didn't. And it was basically just me trying to figure out a denture. Okay, and now this is funny because, you're kind of in an interesting place with them, at least for me. It's like 3 bears. It's either too loose or too tight. And so I was new with this, and it was like I was talking and I was excited, and yeah, the denture wanted to come out of my mouth, and I had a real humbling understanding of what people who have dentures might go through when they lose their teeth, and it's kind of embarrassing. It's mortifying. And my first hamburger was like a big deal. And it was taking me over an hour to eat. I think it was tiny, tiny. So that's kind of the humorous, the good, the bad, the weird. I had a great team at the dentist office who were more than happy to realign it and do what they needed to do. And we worked with the homeopathics, which were incredible. And they were just pleased with the surgery, the results. So I think that's kind of the woo, the spiritual, the physical, the humorous,
Hmm.
because I can't just do it with one thing and be done. And there we are. That's not me.
I love that the combining of all elements of the story because our stories as humans are very complex oftentimes.
Complex. They're very complex. And
So
yeah.
so so we're getting close to the end of time, but I
Really? The end of time?
oh no no
You mean? You
the
mean? Sorry.
no the end of our no so you've been on this journey with your teeth and I think of the journey you take clients on at Alchemy Bloom. How do how do different journeys relate?
You mean how do other people's journeys or how are they similar to this experience when you ask how they relate?
Yeah, it's not a well formed question at all.
That's all right. Do you want me to just fly with it?
Yeah, like what nuggets from your journey with your teeth do you want to use to help your clients at Alchemy Bloom?
I think, thank you for asking and having fun with it. I think when I really got in my cells, that the transformational process, that there's a gestation period. And that's a platitude, but when all of a sudden it just played out for me, I was like, whoa, like really cool. Because it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen the way you expect it. It doesn't happen frequently with a neatness and a linear pattern. It's incredibly circuitous. It's showing up on the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, psychological, financial, social, planes and bodies. It's 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 a process. It has its own timeline. It's not something that can be rushed, and it's something that is being asked at a soul level.
Mm,
And when somebody can be with me on these journeys, it's honoring where they're at and how they got there. It's holding the space for them, knowing that there's a bigger piece to this whole thing, the Rubik's Cube that's unfolding. It's helping them to realize that the gestation period is what helps the successful bloom because it gives them the foundation, the framework, the moving through, the the working with it on multiple levels so that for me, the people I work with, so that they can feel an ease, a comfort, a relaxation with their purpose, their calling, what they're meant to do, what they're
mm,
meant to say, how they're meant to express
mm,
themselves, and it becomes organic. And it's like I like to say, it's something that they embody, they
mm,
integrate, they take ownership of in a very core organic way that isn't manufactured. It's all of a sudden there. And it's like they have the clarity, they have the confidence, they have the creativity, they have the courage, they have all these different pieces and connection that help them as part of that Rubik's Cube piecing to actually show up and take. So through the journey to get to that place, they learn, they get, they experience the steps then that they can then use for bringing something that's important, whether it be healing or a book or a speech or fill in the blank writing
mm,
into the
mm,
world with a greater degree of presence and showing up. And that I feel when I tap in my mouth, I feel it as a strong strength of, yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
One more question, and this is not it. So actually two questions. Your website is harmonysedona.com, right?
It is. Thank you.
So I pressed the button, but nothing happened. So when I do this,
There it is. Yay. Thank you. Hi there. Hi, me.
hi. So I've asked you this twice before. I think because you've been on the show twice, but I ask my guests every time they're on the show. Do you know what I'm going to ask?
No, but I'm loving it.
Um, what today from where you are today? What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Harmony Sedona?
A very dear friend to me said that I could take the moment to make a pause and breathe and not always have to have an answer immediately available on my tongue and take the moment to be with it. I think in this moment, what's really on top is giving people space to be who they are,
Hmm.
is to allow them in my potentially judgmental, conclusionary self that my that frequently what's happening with me is it's a projection. I don't have enough information. I'm seeking to wrap in more kindness and more compassion for another when I'm triggered, to see them, experience them with a different perspective that allows them in my projection to be more human, to dissolve the parameters around that of how I might want to feel aggressive toward them, and to just really distill it down to an essence of human dignity and human respect, and respect them for being human, and not having it be a platitude, but an actual way of living, not just in what I express or what I would write, but in my heart. It seems like the most important place for me is how I genuinely can then hold them in my heart. And it's a process, and it's not always working. And some days and some moments are better than others, but I'm accumulating more successful moments where I can actually be in that place to look at somebody and apply what is doing your imperfect best. And it helps to also dissolve the stories. And it helps to be then in a place of, well, then I wonder what else is possible. What are the resolutions here rather than let's go back and process this to death and ask, why did you do that? Let's ask, well, what is now possible moving forward?
Thank you so much, my
You're
friend.
welcome, my friend.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Blessings and happy holidays.
Wow. Wow. So as we were saying, Harmony and I have so many conversations. We talk on practically a weekly basis, and we've never had the exact conversation. And I learned a lot. I hope you did too, and I'm inspired. Hope you are too. And I encourage you to experimenting to. I encourage me to speak English. I encourage you to experiment with having fresh conversations with the people you who are your close friends, who are your family members, and just see where those conversations lead, and maybe to have a fresh conversation. You go with them to a place you don't usually go, and that triggers the conversation. Or maybe you have them on a podcast. I mean, there's a million ways to do something new, and just experiment for yourself and your friends and family and see what works. Anyway, those are my reflections. Thanks for tuning in. So glad you are here and enjoying it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And please tune in for another episode next week. And of course, thanks for leaving comments if you so desire. We love comments. And here's the outro. Okay. Bye. Bye.